Hey, this is Danny from Scare Talk. Before we get into all the horror greatness, I gotta let you know about Anchor. Anchor is the host site that we use to record our podcast. Anchor will upload your podcast to Apple and Spotify and many other listening platforms. Anchor is completely free, and you can download the app or go to the website, anchor.fm, and you can record straight on there. There's also some cool editing tools that you can use. Did I mention that it's free? Yeah, so if you want to make a podcast, Anchor is the way to go. Go check it out. Now, for the spooky stuff.
Welcome to Scare Talk, a horror movie podcast for horror fans. This podcast will cover horror movie reviews, ratings, and rankings. Now for your hosts, Danny and Joel.
All right, this is Scare Talk. I am Danny, and I'm here with Jolly Joel.
Hey guys, what's up?
We're extra jolly today because we're going to talk about a Christmas film, Christmas horror.
Yes.
We have the YouTube sensation writer-director of It's Me, Billy. We have Dave McRae.
Hello. Thank you very much for having me. I just want to make the distinction. It's co-writer, co-director. We can't forget
yes.
my buddy Bruce Dale.
Yes, of course.
Oh.
Yes.
So yeah, It's Me, Billy.
And also voice of Billy, so.
Oh, are you really?
Billy? That's correct.
Yes, he is, yeah.
That goes into my background, so.
Okay. Awesome. I did not know that. All right. So yeah, Dave, tell us about yourself, what you do, some of your background, and all that good stuff.
Sure. Well, where do I begin? Well, my full-time job is a professional voice actor. That's my day-to-day job. That's what I do. I've spent over 20 years in the entertainment industry. And whether it's been radio and television commercials, network promos, movie and game trailers, corporate presentation and training videos, you name it, I've done it. And I've been lucky enough to be doing it full time since about 2006. And, some of the, I guess, highlights for me would have been I've done movie trailers for It Chapter 1, The Crazies, Inside Out, Lego Batman, all that kind of stuff. And so you've probably heard my voice, but obviously wouldn't have known it. That's one of the parts about the entertainment industry, or the voiceover side of the entertainment industry, that I actually quite like, is the anonymity of it. And where your voice might be recognizable potentially, but your face isn't. And so I've always appreciated that side of voiceover. But I went to school in the late 90s for film. That's what I wanted to do with my life. I wanted to be a filmmaker. And I studied film at Niagara College in Welland, Ontario, Canada. And I did 2 years out of a 3-year program. I wasn't happy with it. I was having trouble keeping up. So I decided to leave. But I always had a knack for performing and acting as well. And so I got into that in Toronto, and which is where I am and where I'm from. And then I didn't look back. And then I sort of fell into the voiceover side of things as well. And I became quite successful at that. And then around 2016 or 17, I'm giving you the Cliff Notes version, by the way, of my life. Yeah. And then about 2016, I'm sure there's something I'm leaving out, but anyway, about 2017, I think it was. Obviously, I'm a big movie fan, no surprise there, and I'm a big horror fan, and I am a big Halloween fan. And then, of course, in 2016 or 17, Blumhouse announced that they were going to be doing a new Halloween movie, and I had a lot to say on that. And I was kind of excited, but nervous, but excited, but apprehensive. And I had all these kind of thoughts. And so I had a YouTube channel, and I had one since 2006, but I never really did anything with it. And then in 2017, like I said, I jumped on to sort of, not to start any sort of channel, or to grow a channel, or to turn it into a job or anything like that. I just wanted it to vent, like how you used to kind of write down your thoughts back in the day just to get them out there.
Yeah.
And you feel better that your thoughts are written down, even if you don't send that email or show that person that, that thought, it's out of you and it's down on the page or on the screen. And that's sort of how I felt about this and how I was approaching it. I never asked anybody to subscribe or like or hit the notification bell. It didn't even dawn on me. It was complete naivety. I just was, just getting it out there. Yeah. But people, for whatever reason, started to really like what I had to say, and I started to gain a bit of a following, and it turned into kind of this side hobby. And where I talk Halloween and horror movies and things like that. So I do have a YouTube channel now, I guess, where I do that under my name, Dave McRae. And now I turned 40 in 2019. And when you turn 40, you sort of look back on your life and think about what you've done and what you haven't done. And one of the things that I wanted to do was really, hone my craft and my skills as a filmmaker, because that was my first love. And, I decided to do that. I decided to kind of really focus on that and start to build and flex those muscles on that side of my career. Whereas I've spent, like I said, 20 something years doing other things. So I guess that's a nutshell. I'll leave it there. I could go on, but I'll leave it there. Kind of that's the nutshell of who I am and where I've gotten to be at this point.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So that's where It's Me, Billy comes in.
Yeah, see? Great segue, right?
There you go.
Yeah.
I did want to say how I discovered you.
Sure.
It was before It's Me, Billy. I'm a huge Halloween fan as well. And, have my critiques of the 2018 film and the newer film. And, but I was watching other reviews or something on YouTube, and someone had commented to check out Dave McRae's concept for a sequel to the 2018 movie. And so I went there and I was like, oh wow, this is like how long was it? Like 2-3 hours, something like that.
It was like 2.5 hours.
It was long. So I was like, oh wow, this is quite in depth. But listen to the whole thing, and it was like, it put you in that place. I could totally feel like I was watching the film. And it was a great concept, by the way. Loved it.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
The way that you kind of set each scene was really cool. And so once then I subscribed to your channel, and then that's how I found out about It's Me, Billy coming out. And so I was like, well, this guy has a director's mind. We gotta check it out. So that is, kind of how I discovered you.
Very cool.
Joel, do you remember finding Dave, or was it a similar story?
It is similar. You had told me about that concept, the Halloween one, and so I did check it out. And on your YouTube page, you were talking about this new upcoming project you've got going. It's Me, Billy. So it is similar. Except the comment was you.
Okay. Right. Awesome. Okay.
That's cool.
So,
That's cool.
So we haven't even said It's Me, Billy is a unofficial sequel to the horror film Black Christmas, the original.
Correct.
Not for profit. This is posted on YouTube. And so, Dave, you said you're a big Halloween fan. Big
Halloween fan, yep.
Yeah, you have this whole concept.
Yep.
But you didn't do a Halloween movie. You did a Black Christmas movie.
Yeah.
How come?
Well, okay, so, like I just mentioned, like I had turned 40 in 2019, and I wanted to sort of flex those filmmaking muscles, right? But I didn't want to bite off more than I could chew. And so I reached out to my buddy Bruce, my best friend. He's been my best friend of nearly 30 years. It'll be 30 years next year. And so we go back to being teenagers in the 90s, making home movies on high 8 camcorder shit. And he works in the film industry here in Toronto. He works for William F. White International. He's the national manager of education and training there. And they are Canada's largest distributor of movie and television lighting and grip gear. So when Hollywood comes up to Canada, whether they're shooting in Vancouver or Toronto or wherever else, usually they are renting their gear from Whites. Now there are competitors, but that's who the big company is here in Canada, and Bruce works for them. And so I reached out to Bruce and I said, hey, and he's a filmmaker as well. And I said, I want to really start doing this. I want to really, I've built up my voiceover side of my career but I really want to go back to my first love. And he was totally on board. And I said to him, but I don't want to bite off more than I can chew, or that we can chew. I don't want to do something too crazy. I want to set us up for the best probability of success. And so I thought, why not do a fan film? And let's do a fan film with Black Christmas. And that kind of came to be because I was watching Black Christmas one night a couple years ago, not for the purposes of doing a fan film on it, but that I just happened to be watching it. And the way the movie ended, I thought, God, what if we do something with this? Now, I'm the first to say it's got one of the greatest endings in all of horror. It doesn't need an ending or a sequel, certainly. But what if we did? And there's something romantic about it because, we're Canadian from Toronto. The original film is a Canadian movie shot in Toronto. So who better to do it than two Canadians from Toronto? And so there's kind of that angle to it, which we really liked. And the Halloween fan film space, I don't know if you guys know this, but the Halloween fan film space is saturated.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's a Halloween fan film every day. They're coming out in July, for goodness sakes. And some of them are really good and some of them are, very amateur. And, they're just, there's a fan film for everybody, for every level of production value.
Oh, yeah.
And it just felt like the low-hanging fruit. And we thought, no, let's do something that is a bit more on the outside, a bit not expected, and we can tip our hat to the slasher film that really was the one that, I don't want to say started it all, but certainly it inspired John Carpenter and Halloween and things that came after it. It was in many ways one of the movies to start a lot of the familiar slasher tropes that we see today. And it's a Canadian film. So why not do it? It's never been done. So that's why we did it.
Awesome.
Okay. That's a good choice. The Halloween, it is a pretty saturated market, and the Halloween fandom is incredibly, lack of a better term, can be a little on the aggressive side when it comes to
no, are you kidding me?
Messing with their
come on, Joel, what are you talking about? It's true.
Lack of a better word.
True. Yeah. Oh yeah, there's a lot of I agree.
Yeah. So I don't know about the Black Christmas side of things. I mean, there's been a couple there's been one sequel / remake and then another reboot completely. But as far as no one's really touched the original Black Christmas, giving it a sequel or anything like that. So that's definitely that would definitely be where you would shine for sure.
Well, it was something that we felt was again, there was opportunity there, and like you just astutely pointed out, I mean, there's never been a sequel. Not that there needed to be one. I mean, it ended it was supposed to end that way and sort of leave the ambiguity intact and get the audience to go, geez, what the hell happened? Or, this, that, and the other. But the two remakes that came out, one in 2006 and one in 2019, are, completely different, especially the 19 film, which doesn't follow anything. And so again, there isn't really a huge mythology that's established. There isn't a lore or the rules of the series, or lack thereof are not solidified. You can't do that, or that doesn't make any sense. Jason doesn't run, or Michael doesn't, all that stuff doesn't exist because there aren't 36 films that have established that. So there was an opportunity there for us to build a story that's an extension of the first movie, while being its own thing, but just sort of continuing and moving forward.
Awesome. Yeah. I'm a big fan. I know, Joel, you are too, of the original Black Christmas. I tell people all the time, and I've posted on Facebook, and some people disagree, but that Black Christmas should get a lot of the credit that Halloween does get, for some of the shots, some of the atmosphere that it builds. Some of the final girl. I think she, in Black Christmas, she's a final girl. There isn't too many before that. And then you get
Laurie.
and then you get Laurie, and she's the ultimate final girl. A few years later,
right? Well, and Jess Bradford as well is, again, I mean, the term final girl I don't think was even coined until the 90s, if I'm not mistaken.
Sure.
You can look that up, but it's something that was, but you're right. And Jess from Black Christmas is not the traditional final girl, the virgin, the one that is all sweet and innocent. I mean, she's contemplating having an abortion, and which is and it's Peter, the one who wants her to keep it, which is a bit of a role reversal, certainly for that time period back in the early 70s, where it's the man that wants the baby kept and the woman wants to get rid of it.
Right.
Stereotypically, you would think it would be the other way around. And that was our end point, by the way, right there. When we were thinking about how to extend the Black Christmas story that felt organic and natural, we needed to crack the code. What's our end point? We knew we were going to have to jump 50 years into the future, or the thing's going to be a period piece, which is just going to up the budget. But how do you jump 50 years into the future and make it make sense?
Right.
And that's sort of her being pregnant and having that baby and wanting that abortion. When we watch the movie over and over again, we realize that it's left open. I mean, yes, I know there absolutely is, at the very least, evidence to suggest that Billy did kill Jess at the end of the movie, because if you pay attention, he appears to make a phone call at the end of every killing. So when the phone is ringing at the end of Black Christmas, you could, assume that he's just killed Jess. Sure. However, even Bob Clark, the late Bob Clark, who was the director of the film, said that he had an idea for a sequel to that original movie where he was going to bring back Jess Bradford as the sorority mom. So now that film never came to fruition, obviously, because Bob Clark died in 2007 in a car accident with his son. But that was on the table. Even Bob Clark had, for whatever reason, had this idea in his head that he was going to continue the story. So whether she did actually die at the end of the original or not, I think is left open to interpretation. But we had realized that there was no mention of what happened to the baby. Did she have the abortion? Did she not have the abortion? Was the big fight at the end of the movie, did that cause, miscarriage of some sort, or who knows? It's just, we know she's pregnant and it's left that way. So that was our end point.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. And I'm glad that you guys, do reference that in this, It's Me, Billy, about how maybe that night is kind of what almost inspired her to keep the baby.
Correct.
Yeah, I think that was great. Okay, and just real quick, one more thing on Black Christmas. I think it's really ironic and interesting that Bob Clark did both A Christmas Story and Black Christmas.
And Porky's too. He did Porky's he was a funny dude. He's
classic for the kids, one for the adults.
I know, two completely opposite ends of the spectrum right there.
Yeah.
My God. Yeah, it is funny.
Okay, so let's talk about It's Me, Billy a little more. So how'd you guys start this as far as like the funding and, getting the cast together and all that?
Yeah, well, so like I said, I was in a position where I wanted to make a quote unquote real movie. And what I mean by that is I wanted to, I didn't want to just, hire a bunch of people that had no experience or just get a bunch of my friends together who don't really care or, whatever the thing is. I wanted to approach this as professional as possible. When you've worked in the entertainment industry for as long as I have and as long as my buddy has, you've learned things, you meet people, you have certain connections and access to resources that the average person doesn't. And we wanted to finally utilize those things. So I said to Bruce, I want this to be a professional film through and through, and that it's only a fan film essentially in name only. But I want the production value and the design and, everything to be pro. And he agreed. He says, why not? Let's do it. Right. So that was the first thing. Like, we needed to make sure that we knew that this was the kind of film we wanted to deliver on. And then we wrote the script based on what we were just talking about in terms of the baby angle and how we set it 50 years later, and making sure that it followed the granddaughter of Jess Bradford, by the name of Sam, and her two best friends as they're spending Christmas Eve at her grandmother's old country mansion. And Billy suddenly makes his return. It was important to us that because this was a sequel, we wanted to show more of the physicality of Billy, but not showing Billy, not showing his face where he walks into some brightly lit room or you see his face by a window or something. We didn't want to show him, but we wanted to show more of his physicality. This is a sequel, right? It's an extension of that. But we also wanted to keep the ambiguity of him there, and we wanted to keep the mystique surrounding him. So it was a challenge. How do you develop the character of Billy, where it feels like you're experiencing something new, but at the same time you're not being revealed or he's not being demystified, completely with all the things that make him so great. And that was a challenge, but I think we largely succeeded in that, in my opinion anyway. So that was a big proponent of the script. Another thing was we knew we wanted to design it to be episodic. Because when you are crowdfunding a film, if we were going to do the entire idea of what we have, we would have had to have raised, $200,000. And it just was because we were in the middle of a pandemic and things were, a little tight for a lot of people. We just didn't think, and it's Black Christmas. It's a fan film nobody asked for. It's a fan film we have to convince people that they actually care about. It's not Halloween. If it was Halloween, we probably would have raised that in, 3 days, right? That's just the way people are. Yeah. But when it's Black Christmas, you have to be more strategic. And we thought, let's write the first half of this. And we'll end it at a certain point that hopefully makes people go, what? What? But how does that? Is that it? Well, of course it's not it. Come on, who the hell ends a movie like that? But
okay, I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, no. Who does that? Who does that? The psych. You guys suck. No, we just. But in order to complete the story, we would have needed, another, $60,000. So we thought, let's write this first half, and we'll end it kind of on this epic moment. And we, and everything from the ground up, from development to pre-production, production, post-production was professional through and through. We spent 2.5 months on the shot list. We spent, so much time on storyboards and hiring professionals that work in Canada's film industry. The film was shot by Greg Bennett, who's a 2-time CSC. That's the Canadian Society of Cinematographers. He's a 2-time CSC award nominee. He's been doing it for, 30 years. The actors were professional. The crew crew was professional. This is what they do. It's their day-to-day job. When they were done on, Billy, a week later, they're on to the next show or the next film, right?
Yeah.
It's, it was just a stop along the way for them. And that was intentional. We wanted to focus on the writing, the directing, the producing, and we didn't want to have to worry about all those things that you do worry about when you're trying to do everything yourself. And so that was another thing that was very, very, very important to us, to be able to get the right people, surround yourself with the right people to give you that best probability of success at the level we were trying to achieve. We wanted this to look as quote unquote studio as possible with the budget that we had, and the resources that we had, and really deliver something that can excite Black Christmas fans, finally, after 2 films that didn't really do that. So we launched an Indiegogo campaign, which was important. We designed that. We spent about 7 or 8 months designing that, making sure we had the right perks in place and all that kind of stuff, and making it, visually stimulating for people, and it really sells. And of course, I was on my YouTube channel being my theatrical crazy self, trying to get people to come in like a car salesman. I'm sure people were fucking annoyed by it. But really trying to sell it and having people on and doing interviews and stuff. And we had a little teaser trailer that went along with the Indiegogo campaign, and we launched it on the 4th of July, not because it was Independence Day for you guys in the States, but it just happened to be the day we launched it. And we were looking to raise 60,000 Canadian, which is about 46,000 US, at least it was at the time. I don't know what the dollar is now. And we did it. We raised 64,000 Canadian. And it was unbelievable. It was a very humbling experience to be able to, especially during a pandemic, to be able to raise that much, because it wasn't lost on us, guys, that, it really, not that there weren't Black Christmas fans that weren't excited, that wanted to support it. For sure there were. But at the end of the day, it really wasn't the IP that was the cause of us raising this money. It was people believing in us. It was people, it was all the selling we did and all the talking about it and the interviews. And in case you haven't noticed, I never shut up. And it's one of those things where, people really believed in us. And it was one of the most humbling experiences I've ever had in my life. It was a really, really cool thing.
Great. Yeah. You can really tell that it is professional. And I think that is, I've shown it to a few different people who haven't heard of you, or, aren't even really huge Black Christmas fans or anything. Maybe have seen it, but, not too invested in the story or anything. But the first thing that they say is, wow, this is on YouTube? Like, this is legit,
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you can really tell. And, that makes a lot of sense with the connections that you guys had and some of the, people that you chose to staff for the project. It comes across as professional, for sure.
For sure. And I just wanted to say this too, is that, filmmakers inspire filmmakers all the time. And I would be remiss if I didn't give credit to Vincent DeSanti and Never Hike Alone and Never Hike in the Snow. I mean, these are, he obviously is a professional as well. He works in the film industry out in LA. I think he's just finished working on American Horror Story, if I'm not mistaken. He's working on set on those shows. And, so again, he has accesses and resources to connections and people and, all that kind of stuff. And obviously he's a talented dude and knows the filmmaking process and knows how to make movies and what you have to do to make things look a certain way and make things at a certain level. And when those fan films came out, I mean, again, it's the same thing. You look at it, you think to yourself, this is not a fan film. I mean, this is, this is a fan film in name, perhaps. You can't make a buck off it, but in terms of the production value and everything they went through and who they hired and all that, it was inspiring. And it sort of made me realize that, if we want to be able to compete in terms of being able to showcase what we can do as well, that's the bar, right? That's that's the benchmark, and that's the we needed to deliver something on that. And then of course, people hopefully will look to us and be inspired by us and go, oh well, you know what, we want to figure out a way to be able to do that. And it's all, we're all in this together, right? A rising tide raises all ships, and it's I think the fan film, I mean, you'll always have, of course, your friends in your backyard on your phone type of films, but the fan films are almost becoming their own genre to a certain degree, especially ones that can hit a certain level of production value and professionalism. And I think it's great because they can be used as calling cards and portfolio pieces to say, this is what I can do with this. Now imagine what I can do with your budget.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's true. Like the Friday the 13th fan films, we were just talking about the Santi.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, those, I've seen the first one that he did. I haven't seen Never Hike in the Snow, but Never Hike Alone, is definitely, I mean, with the whole battle going on with Friday the 13th and everything going on right now, it's nice for like the fans of the franchise to have
Absolutely.
something to hold them over until, they eventually get another Friday the 13th movie. But at the same time, like, he could easily be a director of like the next actual Friday the 13th movie. Like
100%. And that's his goal. I mean, he's, and that's what you do, right? I mean, when you work in the business and you want to get people's attention, there's a certain level you have to achieve to get somebody's attention. And I know now, whether or not Vincent DeSanti ends up being the director of the next Friday the 13th movie or involved in any way, shape, or form, who knows? That's yet to be seen. But I do know that that is a goal of his, and he's working very hard to make sure that his voice is there on the table when it's announced that they're shopping that around. And of course he could do it. 100% he could do it.
Would you turn this into a feature-length movie?
Yeah, well, I mean, if
It's Me, Billy.
again, so the film is episodic, obviously, for those that have seen it, or for those who haven't seen it, just don't freak out at the end. It's it's designed that way. We didn't just go, oh shit, we ran out of money. It was designed that way, and to get people to kind of go, fuck, I want to see more, right? And so. Yeah, I mean, if we get a chance to do the next half, and if we were to piece them together, you would essentially have a feature-length film. Yeah. So that right there is probably what would end up happening. I can't say too much right now. Bruce and I are working on something at the moment that it's nothing to do with Black Christmas. I want to say that because I don't want to people to unnecessarily get their expectations up. But having said that, there were some doors that opened because of It's Me, Billy, for ourselves. And we are working on something right now that hopefully we'll be able to share soon. We don't want to put the cart before the horse because it's sort of at a stage where anything could still happen. So we don't want to say something, be like, yeah, this is what we're doing, and then it doesn't end up happening. So we're just kind of waiting until a moment where we feel confident that it probably will happen before we say anything. But the point is that this opportunity, this thing that's happening right now, the thing that's brewing right now, that's stirring around in the cauldron right now for ourselves, is the direct result of It's Me, Billy, and what we were able to achieve with that. But if Blumhouse wanted to reboot Black Christmas and do it right, our phones are on.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, they tried that.
Keyword.
Okay, so I want to ask you about casting. So
yes,
you got some great actresses. And so I'm wondering, did you know them ahead of time? Was there a lot of auditions you went through, or how did that go? How did that come about?
So we obviously casting was very important, and we wanted to cast professionals, people who had experience, who have done work before, not our friends who live down the street or something. But obviously, with the budget we were working with, we understood that we probably couldn't go too experienced, like somebody who was just in, Thor or something like that. I mean, we had to work within our means, but we knew we wanted somebody's somebody who was somebody's, what the hell, I'll say it. We knew we wanted some people, let's just say, actors that were talented, experienced, and could deliver on the material. And so we put out a casting call, an online casting call, for the characters of Mrs. Crane and the three ladies, Sam, Emma, and Justine. And we received probably, I want to say, for Sam, because she's the lead, she's sort of the star, I would say we received maybe about, I want to say close to 100 submissions.
Wow.
And then with the other two ladies, I would say upwards around 30 to 40, and then Mrs. Crane, maybe about 10 to 15. And of course, we have to go through that. And what they do is there's a casting, a breakdown. Obviously, we describe who we're looking for, the ethnicity, the hair color, all that kind of stuff, any sort of features that is important to the character. And we hope that people read that and then submit, because sometimes that's not always the case. Sometimes you get somebody who looks nothing like what you're looking for submit. And I think, well, you know what? Okay, but I can't call you back because, I'm not looking for that. But so and then we went through them, myself and Bruce. I remember it was at his place. We went through them. No, excuse me. So then we chose from those that submitted, we chose who we liked, the look, the feeling, the resume. And then we sent back to them auditions. We sent them some sides, which is just sort of a portion of a script. And then they sent us back auditions. And then we went through the auditions and narrowed it down to the three ladies that you saw, who were just tremendous. They were the ones that they were chosen because and there was a lot of talent. There was a lot of talented people, but they were the ones that delivered the lines as if I believed they were thinking of these lines themselves the most. I believed in their performances. It was nuanced and subtle, and it felt real. It didn't feel like quote unquote acting. And I think that porch scene between Sam and Emma in the film is a great example of that. That was the caliber of auditions we were receiving from them. So it was no contest.
Yes, that scene is what I was thinking of when I thought of, that scene, I think displays some real good chemistry between the two of them. And then, just some great acting and believable acting. But then also the scene up in the attic where Sam sees her friend. She really has to break down right there. And I'm like, wow, this is really impressive. I love it.
Yeah, Victoria Miro, who played Sam, she is just not only is she extraordinarily talented, she is just a hoot to be on set with. She is so funny. And when you say cut, it's like she immediately is like just this bubble of energy and so funny and friendly. And then, but when you say action, she's in the zone. You know what I mean? It's funny. I should show some outtakes online because I adore her. She's so funny. But so talented and can cry and legitimately cry with tears coming down her face. There's no, we didn't have to sort of prompt that or help that out, wet her cheeks with any sort of, spray or anything like that. No, it's all real stuff. And she can only do it for so many takes until it kind of gets a little difficult. But certainly she can do that. And we told her to lose it when you got to the attic. You just lose it. It's not a pretty cry. It's not a Hollywood cry. It's a holy shit, my best friend. What the hell is going on here?
Yeah. That
it's a realistic cry.
Right.
Something
that's all her.
A normal person would do.
Yeah. And you feel for her right there.
You do.
And that really, really caught me, that moment. Okay. So, some other things. So the music in the movie, so the score, is very, very similar. Some of it sounds identical to me to Black Christmas, with the piano just like banging on the piano pretty much. It's not so much music as it is like sounds, I guess you would say. Did you guys create that yourselves, or how did that come about?
It was a combination of a couple things. So we knew when we were in post-production, well, actually we knew long before even we went to camera, that when it came to the sound design for the film, we wanted to emulate sort of what you heard in the original movie in '74. And there really is, as you pointed out, there really is no, score in the original film. It's just a couple of, familiar and similar beats of piano scrapes, piano notes, blom, blom, that kind of thing. And it works so beautifully. I know the composer has said in retrospect that if he had known that the film was going to become this cult classic, he would have, put more effort into the score. But I think it works as it is. It's so simple and so eerie and it's so creepy and it's just strange. And we wanted to do that. So there was no composer on It's Me, Billy. I did all the sound design right from inception. I mixed and mastered everything in my home studio, and including the layers upon layers of sounds and strings and piano and all that kind of stuff. And of course, I have a program here at home that can create those sounds and create those beats. And if there was something that I just couldn't find, or there's something I was like, I need that, I don't know, God, I can't quite create that, I would go searching for it. And maybe there's a site, or there's a sound effect that I need, or there's something that I need that I could purchase and slip that in there. So that happened a couple of times, which is not unprecedented. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've watched Hollywood films where I'm like, I have that sound effect in my library, and it's true. It's 100%. I'm like, I totally have that door opening sound effect. So, even the pros will do it. If there's something that they don't have or they can't find, or they have that one door sound effect that you always hear, or like, whatever the case is, or when a car is about to, it's about to stall because it has no gas. There's just, I mean, it's like, it's the same thing in every fucking movie where that happens.
Yeah.
So it's not unprecedented that will happen. You always try to mitigate that as much as you can, because obviously you want your stuff to be original, and for the most part, like over 97% of it is. But there were some moments where we had to sort of combine certain layers with some sound effects that are sort of already out there to help it. But the intention was to just design a soundscape, not anything that was sort of a score or a soundtrack.
Right. Yeah, and that's definitely how it comes across. And yeah, just when I think of like movies and any sort of background noises, I just think of score. But of course,
Right.
this is more so of that soundscape, like you said.
And it's and it's with the Foley too. Sorry, I just want to say it's with the Foley as well. I mean, every bird you hear, every door that opens or shuts, every knife that clanks on the dish during the dining room scene, every glass that clanks, it's all done in post-production.
Yeah. And speaking of that, there was one part, I'm trying to remember what it was. I think one of the characters like hears a noise and kind of turns their head and looks. And I was, I've seen it a number of times, but at this moment I had headphones in when I was watching it. And, I legit thought that there was something in my house. I looked over like, wait, that was from the movie, right?
Yeah,
So
that
you
probably
turned when she turned.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably the moment with Shelby Handley, who plays Emma, and she's sitting in bed and she's watching something on her laptop, and then there's a little kind of like a knock on the window, which is a little strange considering it's like the second floor, and that was. But what that was, obviously, it was meant to imply that somebody had thrown something up to the window, or there's something there, right? There's some sort of weird, creepy thing that's going on. These girls are being gaslighted, and in case people who've seen the movie haven't caught on, there's a lot of weird, strange things that are going on. They're being played with, and that probably felt that way in your headphones because it would have been the audio, the sound effect would have been shifted to your right ear, to your right speaker.
Okay.
So you're not hearing it in both ears, you're hearing it in the direction of where the window is.
Right.
So it would have been like, what, did that come from my right side, or what the hell is that? Rather than hearing it sort of in full stereo, you're hearing it, in full kind of in both ears, you're hearing it to one side. So and there's a couple of times that happens in the film.
Yeah, I definitely noticed that. So part of the sound design, and this is like super important when it came to Black Christmas, and then this one you guys nailed it, but the phone calls. So how was that? Very important to this franchise, I guess you could say. And so how did that go?
Well, as you said, very important. The phone calls is the movie at the end of the day. Our approach to the phone calls were, see here. So we knew that the first phone call was going to happen in the living room. Well, both of them do, obviously, but the first phone call was going to be with the three ladies when they were sort of watching the movie. And then the second phone call was going to happen a little while later when sort of shit hits the fan and Sam comes back into the living room and all the lights are off and she realizes, holy shit, this is real. It was important to us to, again, bring the spirit of the character of Billy back in that way, not do a carbon copy, but to do something that was familiar to you, what you remember, but almost next level in the relatively short period of time that we have, because we only have 2 phone calls where this happens, but that's because it's a shorter film. And we wanted to showcase Billy's mental decay, his cognitive decay, where it's gone, because when you ask her, or when we asked ourselves, who is Billy now? I mean, it's 50 years later. We're not just going to do a carbon copy of the original movie because we're just doing the same thing over again. Where is Billy now? And that's how writers and directors think. I mean, yes, it's always fun to keep it the same and all that, but you just go watch the original movie if you want that. If you're doing a sequel that is 50 years later, what's happened to him? Where has he been? If he was like that in 74, what the fuck is he like now? If he never received the help that he should have, right? Where is his mental cognitive abilities now? And so it was important to us to take that up a notch to the point where there's one moment during the living room scene. Like I said, they're both in the living room, but the second phone call, where before he says, Sam, I found you, there's almost, we overlapped a bit of the voices, almost like there's this it's almost, not quite, but almost on this verge of sounding almost demonic. Yeah. Now that wasn't because we were trying to tell you that Billy's supernatural and he's a demon. No, it has nothing to do with that. It's just it's to cause that, whoa, holy shit, what the fuck is going on here? I don't know if I can swear on this podcast, can I? My apologies.
You talk how you want to talk.
Okay, sorry for that. Holy, what the fudge is going on here? I'm used to being on my own channel. So it's one of those things where we wanted that to come through. Like there's all these voices in his head. There's that moment when he says to Sam on the phone, help me make it stop, and it's just this, what is going on? Where is he today? Where is that, where is he mentally today? And so it was important for us to replicate the phone calls like you remember them, with the crazy voices and the pitch here, low there, all over the place, but also take it up a notch in terms of its intensity, very quickly. It gets intense very fast, because of where he is in his life now. I mean, who knows who else he's done this to over the last 50 years. And so that was important. It was also important for us to add a bit of clues into the phone calls, because although the phone calls in the original film seem arbitrary and don't make any sense, when you actually pay attention to them, there is a story there that's being told. And there's little bits and bobs and details that Bob Clark deliberately implemented into the dialogue for Billy that you can pick up on. I mean, it's a puzzle piece and they're kind of all over the place. But if you pick out certain things, you can kind of make sense of maybe who Billy is, maybe, or where he comes from. You get sort of an idea. And the same thing is for us here. Again, we don't want to spell it out for you, but we want to throw in a few clues here or there. Like in It's Me, Billy, when he says, how did it go? I think he says something like, I should have killed the baby. I should have killed the baby, and things like that. Like there's little bits and bobs of little things that he says in our film where it's like, oh, is he talking about Jess's baby? Is he like, did that mean, what's going on here and all that? It was so important for us in this entire movie that we answered questions, but we created new ones. And so that was the sort of the approach. We wanted to bring the spirit of Billy back, and we wanted to take it to the next level of mental cognitive decay. And me being a voice actor, of course, I thought, well, I'll just do it. And I stood in my booth now on set. It's important to note that the physicality, the actual actor who plays Billy is a gentleman by the name of Brian Charles Peter. And he actually has really long hair like that. That's not a wig. That was his real hair. And that was his real sort of, I don't know if you could see it, maybe in shadow, he's got kind of this long beard. And when we were on set shooting the phone calls, he was off camera sort of reading the script for Sam to kind of get into the zone and things like that. But in post-production, me being sort of more experienced in that area, I added myself in there to be the voice of Billy. However, there is one moment, there's two moments actually, where it's not me. During the first phone call, there's this like maniacal laugh almost. It's like this weird kind of high-pitched laugh. That's Brian. And then at the very end of the phone call, just before Justine grabs the receiver away from Sam, Billy says, I'm going to kill you. That's Brian as well. That's not me.
Wow.
Okay.
Nice little mix of both there. I like that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, they were just amazing lines, and they just sounded so great, so I had to use them.
Yeah. So did you, because you said he was reading the script to her as the phone call was happening,
Right.
Is that when you and Bruce decided, okay, we're going to keep that line said by you? Or, because he was saying them at that time.
Yeah, no, I think it was more during post-production. We were sort of focusing on Victoria's performance at that time. And we were off. I mean, we were around the corner looking at it on the monitor.
Gotcha.
So yeah, we were just more focusing on kind of the feeling and the dynamic of the scene. I think we shot that slow zoom on her face when she's in the living room on the phone. We shot that about 3 or 4 times. It's actually the length that there's the scene in the original film, if you remember, when Jess comes in from outside, the phone is ringing and she picks up the phone and there's kind of this slow little zoom on her face as she's listening to Billy. I think she's just come from the park or something like that. And that was sort of, in our film, that was what we were honoring, was that moment. And this, the slow zoom in on Jess Bradford's face takes about, I don't know the exact number, but let's say it takes like 46 seconds or something. It's the exact same amount of time in our film, 46 seconds. The zoom up on her face.
That's awesome.
Before the camera settles, before the camera stops. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That's cool. Yeah, and you guys, segue there, you guys did do definitely some callbacks to the original, with some of the, there's a unicorn being used. There's the lighting on his eye. And there is a phone number on the phone in the attic that is from the original film as well. Is there anything I'm missing?
Anything you're missing? Well, let me see here. So there's 2 unicorns. There's the unicorn brooch on Mrs. Crane's jacket at the very beginning. Sort of foreshadowing, kind of like, is this somebody we can trust or not? I don't know. Why does she have this black unicorn brooch on her jacket? And then, of course, there's the unicorn letter opener, which is what Billy uses to attack Justine with. And you're right, the eye shot. We had to get a eye shot in there anyway. And let me see. There's the Silent Night song, the exact same Silent Night that was used in the original film is playing in the attic on the record.
Yes.
When she enters, so it's not just the same song; it's the same version. It's the exact same one from the original film.
Okay.
And then the phone, of course, was our way of that's a deep cut, because I don't know how many people would remember the lineman actually says that phone number. I mean, they know the phone is green, but I don't know if they remember the phone number. And when I was watching the original film, I thought, oh, I got to use that. That is, I wonder who's going to pick up on that. Now, some people have said, "Oh yeah, I got it." I'm like, I don't know if you got it. Come on, you're just saying, because how come you didn't mention it when you watched the movie? Well, no, I got it. I'm like, oh, come on. I'm sure maybe somebody did, but and then of course when Sam first enters the attic and we show the top of that table that's there, and you see the Belmont Murders book, there's a transcript that's there. It's difficult to read, of course, on purpose, but there's what looks like a movie script. It's actually a transcript for a novel that's there called Peter's Innocence by Jess Bradford. So that tells you that, I mean, she wrote a book called The Belmont Murders, which made her very wealthy. And of course, in that book, it's likely that it was all about Peter being the killer, right? But then, of course, years later, she started to have doubts, and it looks like she was in the middle of attempting to write another book, maybe clearing Peter's name. And does that have anything to do with anything? I don't know, but just kind of put it out there.
Tuned.
Oh, yeah, so stay tuned. So there's that. But in terms of the callbacks, I think you've got it. We wanted to, instead of peppering Easter eggs all throughout the movie, because again, it's a short film, right? So we wanted to pepper some, but what we wanted the biggest Easter egg to be a film that honors the original in aesthetic, in tone, in feeling, in lighting, and in pacing. It's a slow burn, and so is the original film. So that really is the biggest Easter egg, is the overall tone, feel, and style of the movie.
Yeah, for sure. The phone number, I mean, I don't know. I didn't know the exact phone number, but the fact that the fact that it's on the phone, I thought, okay, that's the phone. It's got to be. I don't know why they would put the phone number on the phone. So that was what kind of cued me into it.
Okay, all right, okay, I got you.
So that's kind of how I knew about it. Oh, and then one that I'm just remembering now is of course the plastic over the face.
Oh, right, of course, I can't believe I forgot that too. Yeah.
that's just what
maybe that actually.
Known for.
Yeah, now that you mention it, that might actually be the biggest Easter egg in the whole movie. It's we knew we wanted to have that. That's classic Black Christmas. I mean, that has become sort of, that's the symbol of the movie, really, at the end of the day, is, this bag over this character's head. And we knew we wanted to have it, but we didn't want to have it too early. We didn't want to peak too soon. So we waited until sort of the very end of the movie to be able to show that. And of course, that's Emma in the back seat. I mean, she's, because she disappears and you don't know what happened to her. And you're like, what the hell happened to her? I know what happened to her. And then, that's what happened to her.
So watching the entire thing, not knowing, and I'm glad that there is going to be hopefully some sort of follow up to this, because that ending is a huge cliffhanger. But watching it all the way through, I thought that's where it was going to end. Because I felt like that would have been like a perfect ending to a short film without any sort of follow up.
Agreed.
Because it's like so eerie to see that image at the end and to know who Mrs. Crane is at that point. But then there is an extra scene there that then brings you to want more. And so you said that you guys had written the entire, or the first half, I guess, with intentions of finishing it. Have you written the other half, or is that still a work in progress?
I'd say it's still a work in progress. Yeah, I agree with you. We all agree with you, actually. I know that Bruce would, and I think fans would too. That the ending of that movie is, to put a sort of a nice seal on it. Definitely, that's if we had no more to tell, or if we didn't want it. It was really about taking the risk, and sometimes risks work out. Right? And sometimes they don't. But we wanted to take the risk because we knew what we were delivering at the very least was, like I said, professional through and through. Not everybody's going to like what you create. That's just art. But certainly we were happy and satisfied with what we were delivering to Black Christmas fans, that we wanted to take that risk and go that extra step further and put something there that's not arbitrary. I mean, we know where it goes. I can't tell you that, but certainly we know where it goes. And it's not made up. It makes sense because there's a lot of people. It's like, I don't understand. She's in how's that even? That doesn't make any sense. It's like, no, don't worry. It's fine. Come on. Think outside the box. But we had said, we said, do we want to end it here? And even though we shot the extra scene, we still could have ended the movie there. I mean, we didn't have to show it. Yeah. And if we didn't have more to tell, or if we didn't want to take that risk, that's where we would have ended it. 100%. Yeah, we would have just on her face, cut to black, roll credits. I mean, that's where we would have ended it. But we thought, let's take the risk. Let's do it, right? Let's live a little and take the risk and see if it excites people enough where they go, oh, fuck, when's your next campaign? I want to fucking swear this. You know what I mean? I think the endings received, from my estimation, I think it's received mixed reviews. I think there are a lot of people that really love it. They're like, oh my God, that's so great. I want to say more, all that kind of stuff. And then you have people like, oh, come on, that doesn't make any sense. What's going on? And so, which I totally understand. Yeah. But I totally understand. I get it because it feels unfinished. But I think that's also because Bruce and I didn't tell people that the film was going to be episodic until after the film was out. Yeah. And the reason why we didn't say that was because then it creates expectations that the movie's going to end on a cliffhanger. Right. And then you're waiting for it. You're prepared for it. And we didn't want to do that. We wanted people, I mean, it's not rocket science. When you see a movie end like that, I mean, if this was a Hollywood film, you'd look at that and go, okay, well, clearly they're setting it up for a sequel. I mean, obviously that's the intention of ending a movie like that. Why would you end a movie like that? Right. But I think I think people were expecting maybe a more sort of closed ending. And we didn't want to do that. We wanted to take the risk and because, if we can, I don't want to say too much, but if we can get a certain somebody to be in a certain, follow-up, I mean, that's the dream, right? That's the ultimate goal. And if it happens, it happens. But if it doesn't, you got to take risks, right? So, but that's why, yeah.
Yeah, I applaud the risk there because I would say I'm in the camp of
oh, come on, what the fuck, right?
not so much to that degree, but knowing that you're making or you're going to follow it up is a relief. Because and it does seem like it even like kind of ends at the the bag over the head shot because there is some black there. Yes. And then there's like, there's this extra little piece here. Almost feels like just like a addition, like like after the credits. Yeah.
Well, it's funny you say that because initially that's what we were going to do. And Bruce really wanted to do that. And I said to him, if this was like a major Hollywood release that was going to be in 3,000 theaters across, North America, sure, let's do it. Because eventually word of mouth is going to get out that, did you see the end credits? Holy fuck, I got to go back and watch. But with a video on YouTube, with a short film on YouTube and how long our credits are, I mean, there's over 660 something names just in the Indiegogo names, right? I mean, they're nearly theatrical release credits. Looking at my Google Analytics, I'm glad I said to Bruce, let's not put it at the end because I don't think anybody's going to see it. Unless unless you contributed to the movie and you get, a real fun sort of kind of thing, seeing your name in the credits, which is awesome. Nobody's going to stick around to watch the end of the credits.
Sure.
And sure enough, when I look at my analytics right now on It's Me, Billy, when it hits about the movie's 42 minutes, that's TRT, that's total runtime. So that includes credits. But when it hits about the 38-minute mark, which is about where the credits roll, you look at my analytics and there is like this sharp decline. Like, I mean, just an unbelievable drop. Like, let's say 60% of people were watching up to that point. And then at the 38-minute mark, it like drops down to like 3. Like, it's just this sharp drop. So if we had had that scene at the end, nobody would have seen it.
Sure.
You know? And so I said to Bruce, I said, let's cut here. Let's make people think that's the end. And then all of a sudden they hear kind of something. What the fuck is that? Yeah. And all of a sudden we cut in and say, "Oh, what's going on? What's happening? Oh my god! I can't take this. What's going on?" So that's why we decided to put it there, just so people could see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that totally makes sense. Okay, so this released in May.
Correct.
So why May? Why not now?
Well, it really comes down to the fact we could have waited till now. But there's a couple of reasons. The first reason, we admit we were excited. We knew we had something that was, obviously it's geared very much towards Black Christmas fans. I mean, if you're expecting a Friday the 13th blood, guts, and gore film with, you're probably going to be severely disappointed. But if you appreciate more of that, slow burn, Hitchcockian, theater of the mind kind of thing, and you really like the original film, I think you'll at least really appreciate what we've done with this. And and we knew that. We knew we had this in the bag in terms of that. We felt confident. And so we were excited. And we thought, you know what? Why not release it in May? So when we spoke to Greg Bennett, who was our DP, who was also our colorist on the film, I said to Greg, how long do you think is it going to take to, color correct and or color time the film? And he said, well, a couple of months probably, just give me some time. And I said, well, do you think you could have it ready for the end of May? And he's like, oh yeah, sure, no problem. I'll have it ready before that. And then we can go through certain versions of sort of what color we want on certain shots. And so I said to Bruce, you want to just do it in May? I'm fucking excited about this. Let's do it. So he's like, yeah, let's do it. So we did it. Really because we were just excited to get it out there. And we understand that obviously it's a Christmas movie and people watch Christmas horror movies at Christmas time. We get that. I mean, if this was a studio release, we would have no say.
Yeah.
The studio would be like, we don't care that you want to release it in May, little Dave McRae. We're releasing it on December 15th because hello, money. So, but for us, we can't make money off of it.
Yeah.
So we thought, why not release it in May? It's fun. And the fans have been dying for it and waiting for it. We've been drip feeding with these trailers and BTS stuff. And also we knew that we could capitalize on 2 times of year. So you have the hype of the release and people are excited about it. So it's out there now. Oh my God, everybody's excited about it. They're watching it. And 6 months later, we can rev up the promotion again for Christmas and capitalize on the Christmas season. So we're kind of having 2 options there where we can kind of have some fun with it throughout the year.
Yeah. And yeah, I've definitely seen more promotion recently. So that totally makes sense.
Yeah, there's an ad playing on YouTube as well for it. I don't know what videos it's playing in front of, but it's playing like if you go to, I don't know, like Dead Meat or any big horror channels or whatever, and you don't have YouTube Premium or whatever it is, and you see ads, you'll probably see an ad for it. So,
like if I hadn't known that this was like a fan film and someone just put it on randomly, I really would have thought this was like a theatrical movie.
I appreciate
until it just
that.
cuts off at 42, 43 minutes. But
Right.
until that point. But
Listen, it means a lot to hear you say that because obviously that was the goal. Was like I said to you at the beginning of the interview today, I said, one of the things I wanted to do, that we wanted to do, was to, access and utilize the connections we have and shoot a real movie on professional Hollywood grade equipment. I mean, we shot on the Arri Alexa. So, they shoot Hollywood films on that all the time, whether it's Halloween Kills, 1917, The Joker. I mean, there's different versions of the Alexa. There's the Alexa Plus, I think it is. And then there's the Arri Mini, and we shot ours on the Arri Mini. But this is a professional cinematic grade Hollywood camera. And of course now you can have the best piano in the world, but if you don't know how to play it, it's still going to sound like shit. So yeah, that's great. We have the funds and we have the resources to rent this gear, but we need the people to operate it. So that's where it came into, we need to hire pros. And it's funny actually how we came to our DP, who's just tremendous. I had made a short list of some director photographies in the Toronto area. And I made a short list. At the top of the list was a guy by the name of Greg Bennett. And I had no idea who he was. But when I was showing the list to Bruce, he's like, oh, I know that guy. He's like, you know that guy? Or, I'm like, you know that guy? He's like, yeah, I know that guy. I used to work with him. I'm like, oh, well, maybe we should reach out to him first, considering you know him. So there's kind of already an in. And so we did. And he loved it. He loved the idea. He's like, are you kidding? A chance to shoot this kind of a movie? Yeah, let's do it. So that's how that came to be. But it's great to hear you say that, because, that was the intention, to deliver something that looks, and look, obviously having that location, especially in a low budget horror film, location is a big part of it too. And, but it's great to hear you say that, because that was the intention, was to deliver something that was professional through and through, as best as we could on the budget that we had.
Yeah, the location, the scenery, all the snow, the mansion itself, just all of that is incredible. How did you come across that?
Great question. So the mansion is a house in Almonte, Ontario, Canada. Almonte is just a little town outside of Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. Ottawa is our nation's capital. It's like our Washington. And so there's this little cute little town outside of Ottawa called Almonte. And I was on the website setscouter.com. I think it's .com. And you can go on there, and there are people that put up their homes and businesses and whatever for filming. You know what I mean? They offer their homes for filming and all that kind of stuff. And I knew when we wrote the story, it was her grandmother's old country mansion. And we chose that because we wanted to have a house that is similar to the house in the original film. Now, the house, we actually, hang on a second, let me figure out how I'm going to say this. So we knew we wanted a mansion that was in the spirit of the house in the original film, even though in our film, it's not supposed to be the same house. Mm-hmm. So there are some people that have watched the movie that have thought that, because I've watched a few reviews on it, and they mistakenly think that the house in our film is not necessarily the same house, but is supposed to be the same house. Like that's the house where all the shit went down in the 1974 film. And that's not the case at all. But it was important for us to have a house that was in the spirit of that, to showcase, cause it's a horror movie and it's a Black Christmas movie. So why not set it in a mansion? And to justify it, it was justified in the story that, Jess obviously became very successful. She got very rich, but then she started to get inundated with all of the fame and the prank phone calls from just random silly kids trying to prank her and all that kind of stuff. And she moved away. She moved away up north, out into the country, wherever in upstate New York, which is kind of where the film was supposed to take place. That's why the cars have New York plates on them. And she got away. But she had enough money to buy this really nice old house, which is what she did. And there's a bit of a layer there. I mean, did she buy it because it resembled the house from the first movie, and maybe from a certain psychological, subconscious kind of way with her character, because she's obsessed with it? Even though she's not thinking about it consciously, was it part of her subconscious that kind of made her buy that house? Who knows, right? So we knew we wanted a house that was in that vein. And when I went searching for mansions in the Toronto area, forget it. It's like, $6,000 a day. Just not, there are, as you can imagine, in any big city, there are mansions, right? But this was just like, and some of them were gorgeous. I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. How the hell do people live there? But the price was just way out of the budget. If this was a Hollywood film, no problem. But for us, it was like, yeah, that we'd be using the budget for our catering in like one day. I mean, it's just, we just couldn't do it. So, so we decided to, so I continued to look. So I decided to look outside of the city, in the more sort of rural areas, because they tend to be a bit cheaper. And I came across this house. It was this, do you know in the movie where we have the drone shot where we're approaching the house over the snow and we're coming up to the house? Yeah. Well, there was a photograph exactly like that, on Set Scouter of this house. And I saw it and I was like, whoa, what is this? Who's this house? Where is this? Almont, Ontario. Okay, it's about a 4.5 hour drive. That's not too bad. I'm like, wow, this is, and I looked at it and I looked at the rate and the day rate, and it wasn't too bad. It was a lot better than what you got here. And I thought, so I showed Bruce and he was like, whoa, that's amazing. And we're like, we should go do a location scout. So we got in touch with the guy and blah, blah, blah. And the rest is history. And he gave us a good rate. I mean, not cheap, of course. I mean, it's still a professional rate, but certainly within our means, within our budget. Such a nice guy, great family. It's him and his wife and his kids, I believe. He's a real estate agent, no surprise. So really, really nice guy. There's other films that have shot there. Tori Spelling shot a film there in the mid-2000s or something. When we left, there was another crew that was coming in to shoot there like a couple of days later. I mean, it's one of these homes that are probably in a bunch of movies, actually. But so it worked out that it was the perfect location and the perfect home to tell this story. Now, I know I'm talking a lot, but there's a lot to tell.
Yeah, no problem.
So there's another thing that we tried to do was we wanted the original Black Christmas house to actually be in It's Me, Billy. And now not as the main location, but one of the early drafts was the film was going to open with Sam walking along the street and looking at the Black Christmas house, because she's never been inside and her grandmother has since passed away, quote unquote. And she's never been inside the house, and her grandmother used to talk all about it and all that kind of stuff. And that stuff is in the film. But we wanted sort of her to walk up to the door of the house, knock on the door, explain who she is. Could she come in and see the house? And the woman that was going to answer the door was Mrs. Crane. And unfortunately, when we went down to, and that house is here in Toronto, it was never a sorority house. It was always a private residence, but it's in a very sort of affluent neighborhood in Toronto, and on a private street amongst other homes of that size. And I believe it's a sort of a heritage site now. It's kind of a protected kind of site because it's so old, and it's all got kind of history to it. So you can't like tear it down or anything. So we went down in February of 2020 and with the goal of sort of trying to ask if we could, use this home. And we walked up to the intercom. There was an intercom we had to buzz, right? And so we buzz, bzz, and then all we hear is, yes. And I said, hi, my name's Dave McRae. I said, blah, 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 blah. We're filmmakers here in Toronto. We're just wondering if we could have it. And all I hear is, no, we're not interested. That's it. And I thought, but we didn't even get a chance to sort of really kind of sell it. Do you know what I mean? And obviously we would have paid them. I mean, it's not that, we were asking, or we would have asked it for free. But at the end of the day, who knows how many people have been up there before us? Who knows how many people came up after us? I mean, it's one of these homes that is, that's the Black Christmas house, right? So we understood, we were disappointed. It was unfortunate, but we thought, well, okay, how can we begin the movie now? And then we thought, well, let's begin it at a diner. We thought, why not the girls, it opens where they're at a diner and the waitress ends up being Mrs. Crane, and we can kind of start it that way. And so we had that, but then the pandemic hit and all the restaurants shut down. Yeah. And we thought, oh God, so now we got to get rid of the diner. So how are we going to begin it? Well, why not? Let's begin it just them on the side of the road, in the car, as if there's been a moment of tension. And the opening of the film is a bit meta because the conversation that the girls are having is about not getting access to the Black Christmas house. And it's sort of meta in the sense that it's the frustration they're feeling is the frustration that we felt when we were denied access to the house.
Yeah.
And that kind of is what was going on in that scene, that, you know, Sam is upset because she's like, I wanted to go in and see it. You know, my grandmother used to talk about it all the time, but, you know, and then they're trying to console her and it's okay or whatever. And then they continue on to grandma's house. But that's sort of what was going on there. And that's the whole thing there with the house.
Yeah, so that's why I'm a little surprised that some people reviewing didn't get that they thought that the mansion was the same house when
I don't.
they mentioned that right at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, I don't know if they thought it was the same house as in the real house, like the one where it was shot. I get perhaps, but I get the impression that there's a few people, maybe more than a few, that think that in the movie, in the narrative itself, it's supposed to be the same house from the original film, and that's not the case. It's just a house that resembles it, because why the hell not? I mean, you know, why would we shoot in sort of a home in a city neighborhood when you can shoot at that place and have it part of the story and isolate them in the middle of nowhere, which really isn't in the middle of nowhere. I mean, you go down the street and you're at like a, 7-Eleven, but certainly that's the idea is to make it look very kind of, desolate and alone. And it's easy to do because the guy's got 20 acres of property. So, when Adam Gamble, our drone pilot, when he came in to do all of the drone shots, I mean, it was easy. I mean, he's flying all over the place. He's got so much property to cover. Like those trees that you see at the beginning of the movie, there's this overhead shot of the trees when the title card comes up onto the screen. That's just his property. That's just where the house is. But of course, in the film, it makes it seem like they're traveling long distances for hours, and that's just movie magic. So
that's funny. Yeah, that's totally the feeling you get. Like they're in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. And they are, I guess, to a degree because it's a small town, but it's not as in the middle of nowhere as we made it seem.
Yeah. All right. So me and Joel give our, ideas on the film and what we thought.
Sure.
So Joel, what was your overall impression? I think we've done a pretty good job at not spoiling a bunch of things. Like, I mean, maybe not. Well, I don't know. But
I mean, I don't know.
But what'd you think?
It's okay. It was good crap,
Yeah, pretty much. No, I'm kidding. No, like I was saying before, it was the quality was amazing. It was definitely movie theater. It definitely could have been in the theaters for sure. And I really I loved it. I thought it was great. We've done all three of the Black Christmas movies now, and I think my favorite review that we've done was probably the 2019 one, just because it was so bad. It was we definitely beat that one to death.
I know.
But this definitely is up there with the original. Like it was amazing, I thought. The acting was really good, especially for a fan-made movie like this. And quality, just the writing, everything was just amazing in this. Like the voice, like you don't get a good Black Christmas movie without nailing the phone calls, which you definitely did.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So to me, this was a near perfect fan film, and could definitely have potential to be an amazing theatrical movie as well.
I appreciate you saying that. I've had a lot of people say that if Universal or some people have even said that this should have been sort of the direction of what the 19 film was. You sort of take the Halloween 18 route and you kind of fast forward a bit and you make it about this and that's really cool to hear. I mean, that's one of the reasons, right? Like you go back to go forward kind of thing. So that was intentional. I'm glad you liked it though. That's awesome. Because I mean, listen, it's art, right? Not everybody's going to like it, and not everybody's going to like everything about it. Like you might really like this, but you're like, I don't know about that, and it's totally understandable.
Yeah. So for me, Black Christmas is one of my favorite horror films. Of recent, I had seen it before, and thought it was okay. But as I've grown older and gone to appreciate more of like the slower burn horror films and things of that nature, Black Christmas is definitely one of my favorites. And so I feel like this, It's Me, Billy, is a really good sequel to that, a really good counterpart. It has a lot of the same tone. The soundscape, as you called it, is great. The phone calls are creepy, especially when he says, I found you. That was chilling. Loved it. And even like the kills, well, I guess we only really see one on screen. Is intense. It's it's not fun to watch. I wouldn't say.
No.
It's not a fun kill to see.
No, I'm so glad you brought that up. I was wondering if you're going to bring that up. I wanted to bring it up, but I didn't want to like steer the interview. It's like, shut up, Dave, calm down. But you're right. That was, shout out to Malaika Henny who played Justine. I mean, she was tremendous. There was a lot of, when you're working with actors and you're doing scenes like that, you always want to make sure that everybody feels comfortable and that everybody is okay. And, it's an intense scene. And shout out to Brian as well, who played Billy. I mean, the way he leaped off the floor onto the bed, I was like, holy Jesus, he's so agile. I mean, the man's 69 years old, and he did such a great job and very committed. Everybody was very committed to making something look great. But yeah, the idea again with that kill is to, we could have gone with a lot of blood and gore, sure, but we wanted to play more into that theater of the mind, what Black Christmas was, and show more of the intensity of the scene rather than anything gory. And there's some outtakes of that. I mean, we shot him on top of her a few times, and there's some, the way it was so tremendous, they were committed to their performances, which was great.
Yeah, that is an unsettling part of the movie, but of course that's what you want.
It's his cackle.
Yeah,
it's his cackle. I think that does it, or whatever he does. The way, and that's Brian. That's not me doing that. Yeah. And that it's this. He almost laughs. He's enjoying it.
Right.
He's enjoying it, which is utterly disturbing.
Yeah. And so the kill scene. It's funny to think there's only one.
There's
because
two, but one on screen.
One on screen. That's what I mean. And then to discover the little twist at the end was cool. Not the end, but the when you find out who Mrs. Crane is. I thought that was awesome. That was awesome to throw in there. And what was I going to say? Oh, I did have a question though. So there's a scene in the attic. And the phone call in the attic. So she's on the phone talking to Billy, but Billy is right above her. So who is she talking to on the phone?
She's talking to Billy.
Okay, so he's got a phone up there. Well, I guess he could have a cell phone or something.
Yeah, cell phones.
Yeah.
Well, remember when shut up and eat your popcorn. So just shut up and enjoy the movie. Daniel, shut up. Just watch it, okay? Stop thinking so hard. No. So our intention with that is so if you remember when Sam goes into her room and she's searching, she's dumping her purse, she lifts up the blankets on her bed, she can't find her phone. So her phone is missing. She's looking for the key. She can't find the keys. I mean, we could have had her go, oh, the keys, like Laurie and Halloween or something. But actually, there was one moment, there was a take where she's like, where's the keys? The keys. And I went, cut. No, we can't. People are going to go, Lori Halloween. I'm like, I can't have that. We can't have that. There's no Halloween in this movie. So I think she just says, where the hell is it or something? And she lifts it up and whatever. And listen, I mean, were we maybe, a little too subtle, maybe a little too nuanced? Perhaps, but we didn't want to spill it out. We didn't want to spell it out. I mean, I think it's clear when she's, lifting up her sheets and dumping her purse that she's searching for items that would help her phone, her keys, things like that. And when she makes her way into the attic, of course, and she doesn't have so she has no phone. She has no way out.
Yeah.
And Billy is up there, and he makes that phone call from the cell phone. Now that would be more apparent if we get a chance to do the follow up. You'll go, oh, I get it. I see it now. Okay. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's where that is. That's where that's coming from, and he's right there. And there's a couple of ways we wanted to, I mean, originally in the script, we were just going to have him appear behind her, sort of kind of emerging from the darkness. But we wanted a moment that was unexpected. Where is he? If he's not in the attic, where is he? And then when we were location scouting, I said to Bruce, what if he's in the rafters?
Yeah.
And what if his hand just kind of like comes down? You're like, oh, fuck, he's like right there, And so Bruce is like, yeah, let's do that. Instead of him just kind of appearing behind her.
Yeah.
We thought, let's do that. So, and then of course he sort of gently touches her hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good thing she didn't lock her phone, man.
Well, some people have. It's funny. Some people have said that. Well, the phone. I'm like, not everybody locks their phone.
No,
not everybody has a cell. Not everybody locks their phone. It's not like it's a prerequisite or it's a built-in default function on a cell phone. You have to actually go in and do that.
True.
So you're right. I think if all phones came like that and it was like that, then yeah, that would be kind of like, that's kind of strange. But who's to say that she did? I mean, who's to say he didn't just swipe left and there you go? Right. And again, if we get a chance to do the follow up, that'll be a little more apparent. But we didn't want to place it on the nose so obviously and kind of go through every beat. We see him picking up the phone, we see him dialing. I mean, I don't want to see Billy dialing a cell phone. It's just kind of we imply it. Albeit it's nuanced and it's subtle, but we do imply that that's probably maybe what's happening. And we hope that audiences go, yeah, okay, I kind of get it.
Yeah. Okay, I can buy it. I'm with you.
You're with me. Okay.
But no, that scene is awesome though. Yeah. When he does come down and gently touch her like that was shocking. I was not expecting that at all.
No.
So, really like that.
There's a couple ways we could have played it. Sorry, I just want to say, we could have played it where he comes down and he grabs her hair like violently. You know what I mean? Like he just suddenly comes down violently, like they did in the original film when Jess is sort of trying to run away and his hand comes over the banister, grabs her hair and pulls her back to the banister. But I said, let's not do that. Let's do it subtly. He's older. He's creepier. He's I don't know, not creepier, but it's 50 years on. He doesn't maybe move as but he's just there's more of the way his hand comes down and as if he's caressing her hair is more about him not. It's a very sort of uncomfortable sexual move, and like he was with the doll, earlier in the film. There's just it's an uncomfortableness about it, and that's why we had it sort of kind of just slowly come into frame. It's like, oh my god,
yeah, no, I like that. And it's cool that you got a guy to play Billy who is like what Billy's age would have been. And that, so then that's believable. Like, okay, he jumped on that bed and, did all that at that age.
He did.
So
he did. And guys, he's a sweetheart of a guy. He is nothing like Billy whatsoever. He's so sweet. He was, the doll that he was, caressing, I guess, in the attic, at the end of the shoot, he got everybody to sign it with a Sharpie, and he took the doll home with him. So I'm assuming it's on his shelf somewhere. But yeah, he's great. He was, and I know that's a very common thing. Usually the mean people in horror movies are usually the nicest people off camera. And he's the same way. He's such a sweetheart.
Yeah, it's really funny how that works out.
Yeah.
Okay, so at the end of each episode, we do grade the movie. We give a percentage ranking. So, so Joel, go ahead. What do you think?
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this one a lot. like a 68.
It's all right. It's like a 3 out of... Actually, before you go on, I had somebody, I forget where it was. I don't know if it was IMDb or somewhere where I read somebody, it was really weird. It was almost like they were pulling a fast one or something. It's like they were punking me or whatever it's called. Is that what it's called? Punking? I don't know if that's a thing anymore. But anyway, it was like he said something, yeah, I saw this fan film, and he's like praising it. Like not overly, but he's like, I really like this, and I like that, and I like this, and this is really good, and I did a good job of this, and whatever, and my ranking 2 out of 10. And I'm like, 2 out of 10? I'm like, 2 out of 10? I'm like, it isn't. But it was like, well, at the end of the day, it was okay. 2 out of 10. I'm like, 2 out of 10? That's a colossal failure.
Yeah, that's bad. That's
a colossal failure. 2 out of 10.
Unless he thinks it's going backwards or something.
Yeah, I'm like, I thought he was going to at least give me a 6 or something. I don't know. But anyways, I'm sorry. Go on.
No, like I was saying, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I give it a 93.
Okay.
100.
Very cool.
Yeah, and I'm going 96. I think I was a little more critical, but I did really like it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We do a ranking at the end of each year for our top 10 films of the year for horror. And so I think this will be included. It'll count as an option for our list, even though it's a short film and it's fan film. So look out for that, Dave. If you get a chance to listen, you might see your film in that list. So
for sure, that's amazing, guys. Appreciate that.
Okay, I think that's it. Joel, did you have anything else you wanted to ask him?
No, I think we covered pretty much everything. Unless you got any upcoming projects you're doing that you can tell us about.
Well, like I said, there is something I'm working on right now with Bruce, which is the direct result of It's Me, Billy, in terms of it being a portfolio piece and a calling card. There is a studio we're working with at the moment. It's very preliminary, though. Like I said, I don't want to say too much because, in this business, I mean, there's so many things. I mean, the amount of projects that hit the development stage or the treatment stage or even the script stage that don't end up actually going to screen is huge. So I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but there is something that we are working on that is not the follow-up to It's Me, Billy. So it's entirely possible that although we do want to do the follow-up to It's Me, Billy, we're watching sort of the response and the view count and, the reception from fans and people out there, whether or not they want it. We definitely have we have the story to complete it. We want to complete it. But it may not be our next project. So it might not be our very next project. We might be doing this other thing first, but we'll see where it goes. But that's sort of what's happening on the filmmaking side. On the voiceover side, I'm just doing some children's animation at the moment, and just finished doing, I guess it's over now, but I just was doing a lot of Black Friday spots for Staples and things like that. So I don't know if I'm doing the Christmas ones. I'm not sure. I have to find out. Gotta find that out. But I'm always doing voiceover stuff. Obviously, that's my job, so that's what I'm doing. But on the filmmaking side, yeah, we're working on something, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we can tell everybody what it is soon.
Is that thing? Can you say if that thing is horror or not?
I can sure, yeah, I can say it's horror. Yes,
okay.
It's in the genre. It's in the genre of horror.
Okay, all right, cool. Okay, so for your voiceovering, you said you did some like trailers and stuff. Are you the guy who does like in a world? Are you do you do that kind of work or?
Yes. So so I now I'm not the only guy that. First of all, let me say that the In a World stuff and the
like
movie
total,
trailer
like,
voice. Yeah, it's not so much a thing anymore.
Right,
Certainly when I started to come up in the early 2000s, the movie trailer voiceover was kind of on its way out. So I haven't done a lot. It's not I wouldn't say that I've done a lot of it, but I was able to, like the very first movie trailer I ever did was for the movie The Descent in 2005. And that's on my channel. And I can do the movie trailer voice. I can do the deep, gravelly movie trailer voice. Now, I'm not going to do it here because I need water and I'm not prepared to warm up. But certainly but I'm serious. And if you were to listen to my trailer demo or to just YouTube Dave McRae, The Descent or something, it'll pop up. And that's really me. There's no audio enhancing. There's no, that is me. I can bust into that voice on command.
That's cool.
So yes, I've done The Descent and It Chapter 1 and some Disney stuff but of course, movie trailer voices is not as popular as it used to be, and I'm not the only one that does it. It can be it depends on your region. It can depend on your country. There are a lot of voiceover trailer guys like Ashton Smith and there's a couple other guys too who I'm forgetting. So they would be probably the guys you hear the most because they live in LA and that's just what they do. They're trailer guys. But I've been fortunate enough in my life to have lent my voice to a few movie trailers, which has been a really cool highlight for me.
Yeah.
But most of my work in the voiceover side of things has been in commercial and promo. That's kind of where my portfolio sits. And then I've dabbled in the trailer side as well. And then at the moment I'm doing more animation, which is great.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. I'd be really interested to hear your voice in that.
Yeah, if you just go to, I have a website, thevoiceman.com, man with two N's. So thevoiceman, TheVoiceMann.com, thevoiceman.com. That's my official website there. I believe some of my demos are there as well. But if you just YouTube Dave McRae, The Descent, or Dave McRae, It Chapter 1 or whatever, it'll pop up.
Okay. Cool.
Wow, nice.
All right. Well, I think that is it. Dave, thank you so much for coming on. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on, guys. I know I talked a lot, but there's
Go for it. Let's talk about it. We like our
Well, you never know, right? Like I know I talk a lot, but you never know like whether they want me to talk a lot or whether they're like, does he ever fucking shut up? This guy's like Mark Hamill. He doesn't shut up. Anyway.
No, we appreciate it. You're passionate about your work and it shows.
Yeah, for sure.
So, don't want to discourage that.
Yeah, no, of course.
But yeah, so go check out the movie if you haven't. You can find it on YouTube. It's free. Go support it. I believe last I saw was at like 300,000.
No. It's not. We wish it was at 300,000.
Oh.
No, it's approaching 34,000
Oh,
views.
that's probably what I was getting at.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And that's something too I want to say too is that people, I've had some people message me and say, are you disappointed that this thing's not at 300,000 views or 500,000 views? I mean, look at this Halloween fan film that's at, 200,000 views or whatever. And I say, well, no, I said, you have to think about it within its context. First of all, it's not the quality of the work. It's not the quality of the film. It's the IP. Black Christmas is a cult film. It's a very niche film. There's still a lot of people that not only have not seen it, but that don't know about it. And it's not a movie that gets people excited in the same ways as like Halloween or Freddy Krueger or Friday the 13th. It's just, I could make a Halloween fan film on my phone with terrible actors and it would have like 90,000 views in a weekend. I mean, no offense to those that do that. I'm just saying it's the IP, right? It's the material, it's the source material that gets people excited. And so we're very pleased with, 34,000 views with a Black Christmas fan film, I think is really cool. We want to get more, obviously, more eyeballs on it and push it up maybe towards 60. But we're pleased with the response for sure.
Okay.
Hey, with it being December, you might actually get that.
Maybe. We hope so.
Yeah. Yeah, so go check it out. Yeah, that's funny because I was even going to say 300,000 isn't enough, but
yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's people that
I was
say, this
surprised.
thing should have 1 million. I'm like, yeah, that'd be great. Well, share it around.
Yeah.
I can only watch it myself so many times.
Right. Yeah, I was surprised.
Just keep it on a loop all day.
Yeah, there you
Can you
go.
imagine? It's on a loop on my desktop, my phone, my TV. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. Everywhere you go in my house is just this film that's playing. You know,
Get those numbers up.
that's it. That's it.
Okay, cool. Well, we look forward to anything new you got coming out. We'll stay in touch with you. Maybe have you on again.
For sure. Yeah,
You know,
I'd like
when
that.
when you have something brewing again. So
Yes.
okay. All right, Dave. Thank you.
No problem, guys. Really appreciate it.
Well, this has been our interview with Dave McRae on his film It's Me, Billy, and this has been Scare Talk.
Sleep tight.
Don't let Billy bite. Ooh.